Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this information webinar on Wild Incubator Tech Program today. So the Wild Incubator Tech Program has been designed by the Center for Wildlife Studies to foster projects that leverage technology in order to cater the conservation challenges which are unique to India's biodiversity. I would like to hand over the session to Mr. Sumit Arora, who's the Director of Technology and Partnerships at CWS. He believes in using technology and partnerships as catalysts for scaling wildlife conservation programs and research. He has conceptualized programs at CWS such as the Wild Connect and Wild Incubator previously.
Hi, thanks everyone for joining in, and thanks Meda for having me here. So just to tell, Meda is the one who is going to look after this program more and less. We'll go a little bit on why we came to this program as a whole, but let me give you a little bit of background of myself as well. So I look after technology and partnerships at Center for Wildlife Studies, and I joined Center for Wildlife Studies around 3 years ago. And since then, I've been looking at different projects, but since I come from a technology background, I have around 18 years of experience, and 11 and 12 years of those, around 11, 12 years of those has been in core technology companies. Started my career with Cadence Design Systems, moved to Samsung Electronics, had a small stint of running my own software services company for 4.5, 5 years, and then moved to a non-profit sector. And then Janagra was my first job where I handled their technology products and as well as government partnerships. And after that, my interest grew in environment as a sector, and thus here I am. Center for Wildlife Studies essentially works towards conserving wildlife and wildlands. And how we do that essentially is through different research and programs that we have. And one of those is, and out of those, that whatever research we do and whatever conservation programs we do, we also believe that we alone can't do everything. So there is a partnership angle to it as well, which we focus on. And overall, the SDGs that we have, we focus on 4, which is quality education in our Wild Chalet program, if you all know about it, which I'll also talk a little bit during our introduction. Is focused on quality education, but primarily on environmental education. Then we also work on climate action through different programs that we have, Wild Carbon and Life on Land. That's where the genesis of CWS actually lies. So we focus on wildlife, wild habitats, and especially focusing on SDG 15. And then the partnerships, and this is where the Wild Incubator Tech Program lies. And that's we'll talk about that also a bit. So overall, CWS's focus has been around, we are a 40-year-old organization. We started in 1984, founded by Dr. Ullas Karan. And the primary area of work was around Karnataka, but then we moved around Western Ghats, and now we are also working in the Eastern Ghats as well. And you can see on the screen, the kind of red leaf species we have and how many in-red beneficiaries we work with while working in this area itself. And Western Ghats are anyways UNESCO's hottest hotspot of biodiversity, one of the hottest hotspots of biodiversity. So it makes sense to focus our efforts here. And for 3.5 decades, we have been doing research on, different biodiversity. You can see mammals, birds, amphibians, reptiles, and insects. And we continue to do that. And all of that research has resulted into various papers, in more than 300 papers in world-renowned journals, some books and book chapters. So we have been very heavily involved in all kind of research related to biodiversity itself, but also on the human-wildlife interaction. So you can see these are also the areas where we do a lot of research on human-wildlife conflict, how the connectivity is impacting the biodiversity, and what kind of solutions that we can drive, wildlife trade and hunting, tourism, as well as community health and disease. So while all of these areas are vast in themselves, but we have different PhD students or principal scientists working on this, not just on the research perspective, but directly working with the governments in assisting them whether this road should be open for traffic or not, or what kind of conflict is where more, and what are the different policies that are there. So we work with gathering a lot of data around it, and then so that we can create programs around it. And apart from the research that we have, we also have a PhD program. These are the current PhD students in different parts of the country who are doing research, and you can see we have not touched a few areas, but more or less we are there in every part of India. And we do this intake regularly, and the regular intake has just been closed. So new PhD students should also be joining us. So if you have missed this opportunity, and if you're doing some research, interested in doing PhD in wildlife, this is a good place to be, and you can look out for the next year's announcement. While research is one angle, we also put use to that research into action. And as you can see, we have started a lot of programs based on the research we have done on the ground. And 2015, we started our first program, which was Wild Survey. And this program was directly after the research that we had done on human-wildlife conflict. So we figured that a lot of these farmers are suffering from this, and there is also already a compensation policy government already has, but they were not able to get the right benefit of it. So we sort of became the first responders in this. So we have a toll-free number in various areas in Western Ghats where they call whenever there is an incident, and our field staff shows up. We help them with the full documentation. We submit the documentation and track the claims. And whatever the claims we have filed, we have seen more than 95% of success rate. So this sort of gives hope to the farmers so that they don't retaliate against wildlife as such. And while we were doing this program, we also figured the children in those families and in those areas are also impacted, because we living in cities have a different way of looking at animals. But when we go on these areas which are next to forests, we see children seeing elephants and leopards in their vicinity, and sometimes in schools, sometimes in their farms and forests, and their the families not in a great state. That's where we started Wild Shale as a program where we go to the rural schools and we help them understand why wildlife does what it does. So it is a very fun, creative program where children are involved in various activities to start having curiosity on why wild animals behave the way they behave, and the huge biodiversity that we have, and then why animals behave the way they behave. This helps them sort of bring the curiosity back, as well as empathy in them on understanding the animal behavior, and hopefully they'll grow up in not hating animals and also start conserving them. Wild Suraksha is also another program which we started during the pandemic, which was more on public health and safety. So we teach communities in this. We run workshops with communities, and we help them understand how to avoid conflict. And if conflict happens, what are the first steps you should take? If it is a human injury and stuff, so what kind of first aid you should give them, what kind of things that they need to take care of. And if it is crop loss, property damage, or livestock predation, then how can they file for compensation? So this is sort of giving them some bits and pieces of information so that they understand what, first of all, they safeguard themselves. And then if an incident happens, what they should do. And it also covers areas on zoonotic diseases so that they understand what kind of outbreaks are common and how they can prevent those outbreaks. During this program itself, we figured during COVID that while cities were grappling with oxygen, we saw a lot of these villages were not affected by oxygen, but they were having inadequate supplies of simpler materials like masks, sanitizer, oximeters and stuff. So we raised funds specifically for this, and we helped that community, though we are not a health NGO. But because we were closely in touch with the communities and those ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers and doctors there, so we could figure out, okay, this is the problem that they're having. So we could act immediately because our field teams were there and we could help them. This program ran for around 4 to 5 months, and we covered more than 1,000 PHCs in those areas to give them some supplies, and it ended there. So it was more of a one-time effort, but because community needed it and we were there, we could support them. And in 2022, 2 years back, we started Wild Carbon. Wild Carbon essentially is a nature-based solution for human-wildlife contact. So what we are doing in this program essentially is creating a natural buffer by planting a pattern of trees in which to avoid, animals crossing it to the farm. So it helps them save the livelihood, the same crops that they already have, gives them additional income because of the kind of cropping that we are doing for them. And it also creates additional habitat for different kind of biodiversity. So those are the main, but we're also exploring how the carbon sequestration effect will happen, but we're not there yet. So it's just started 2 years ago. So we need to see at least 3 to 4 years on how the patterns are coming up, how the trees are coming up, and then we can talk about the carbon sequestration as well. But all these programs have been derived from the research that we do. So we are now a 40-year-old organization, and whatever the research we have done has been used in coming up with these programs. We work heavily with technology as well. We have been mapping a land use change using drones and satellites. We also experimented with acoustic monitoring on looking at capturing sounds and to see if there are animals in proximity. We're still working on getting the AI even fine-tuned and then see how we can actually use that technology in India as well. What you see on the image is one of the devices, but what is looking beautiful is the solar cell only, but there's a device below it which actually does have the AI and sends out the alerts, which we had experimented with. And camera trapping is very common, but we do continue doing this, and remote sensing and mapping using the mapping human settlements within the forest and how different kind of land use change is happening. So a lot of this technology that we continue using, and this is where we figured most of the technology that we are using is actually coming from abroad. And although we do customize it for Indian usage and all, but I think since I joined CWS and the kind of interaction that I've had with different people is that the kind of biodiversity and the kind of ecosystems we have in India, we need a little more homegrown solutions around it. And that's where the Wild Incubator and Wild Incubator Tech Program were generated. And we also have our own in-house data collection platform, Wild Connect, which I developed during this time. And most of our teams are using this. It's a sort of a central data collection tool for us. And we're trying to see if we can open source it, but we are not there yet. Once we are able to figure it out, we can also make this as a public good which people can use for their programs as well. So Wild Incubator, as I mentioned, this is not the first year. We started Wild Incubator in 2023 with support for Panarico Foundation, and again we funded around 5 organizations with their support on specific projects which are either lesser known animals, conservation of lesser known animals, and different areas. And so you can see what kind of projects we funded last year. This was our effort of bringing all of the organizations together to see from the experience that we have had since last 40 years, we can also share our experience as well as help lesser known species and projects which are little hard to fund using the funding that we get. But during this program, and as well as using my background and conversations with different people, we found there is a need to do a little bit of investing in technology as well. And that's where Wild Incubator Tech has come in, and it is supported by Ashray Asta Trust. And I think members from Ashray Asta Trust are also with us in this call today. So during the conceptualization itself, we have been talking to Ashray Asta Trust, and they also feel the need that this sector of technology also needs a little bit of boost. While conservation needs technology support as well, and if we can find innovative solutions which are homegrown and can be deployed during different in different regions, it may not be one specific region, but anywhere in the country, if somebody is working on those solutions which can be opened up and supported, all of them are welcome here. In most of the technology solutions that we see, that we have been seeing around it. So uh, for India's diverse ecosystem, there is a need specifically on different areas that we can work on, and this technologies can be any kind of technology. Literally, there is no specific technology that we are looking for, but if you have like an IoT device, which camera traps are IoT devices itself, so any kind of device that you're coming up with, any monitoring technology that you're coming up with, any of those technologies, if you have been working on, and we are happy to select them and support them. And we've also seen a lot of these technologies have been piloted in India, but they don't see the deployment and acceptance by the community. So we also want to understand why is that happening, and if there is a way we can support those. So we'll be supported through. We're happy to support it through this program. And Ashraya Trust, founded by one of the co-founders of Infosys, fully believes in technology, and I think that's where the match happened. And we're happy that they also found this to be a useful investment to make in India's tech for wildlife. So the aim essentially is to innovations which are tailored to Indian ecosystems, and because when we say a lot of these technologies are coming from abroad, some may work, some may not work, some are too pricey, some are not user friendly for an Indian, because when we talk about these areas, a lot of we don't find a lot of people who are educated and ready to use this technology. So how do we make sure that deployments happen? Who is the right customer for those technologies? So all of that, considering a lot of challenges that these technologies face, we are happy to bring those technology solutions in the front and use our connections, our guidance, and our mentors to help those technology solutions come forward and be ready to be deployed. And best case would be if you already have a technology that you've been trying, and it is already at a stage where it can be deployed. We're more than happy to come and partner with you. And so what Wild Incubator essentially does is we'll give you whichever the projects are selected, we'll give them a small grant, and then we'll help also not just the grant, but also help them with conceptualization of how the deployment should happen, considering the vast experience that we have, and for the long time that we have been working in these areas. We can also open some of these areas that we are working in as testing grounds for them, and then we see how those technologies can be implemented in those areas. And as a last point, technologies can include IoT, AI, open data, satellite imaging, GIS, remote sensing, etc., and more. So if you have more ideas, we are more than happy to look at those. So what does the grant entail? We have in the last, because there was no technology involved, no direct technology involved. In the last time, we only had 20 lakh as per project. But this time we have 20 lakh as well as an additional 4 lakh for your equipment purchase. Let's say if you want to have some devices you want to purchase, or some servers and things like that. Is there something like that you want to have at your disposal? So additional 4 lakh is available. Again, thanks to Ashraya Trust for supporting us in that. And we'll also have, jury members and mentors to help you in that, who have had vast experience. And although the mentorship, again, you will see mentorship again will come from, a lot of this will come from outside India, but they are some great people who have been working on different technologies, and they've tried and tested some technologies in India as well. So you will get access to them as well. And as I mentioned, we have work locations in 8 states, around 100 wildlife parks. So if there's a specific need to test and deploy in those areas, we are both happy to evaluate that. And then we'll do a monthly monitoring and evaluation, but also check-ins with mentors. So you can discuss your challenges with them, be it on technology, be it on deployment, or anything else. So what will be the evaluation criteria essentially? So eligibility, like it has to be a non-profit organization who is working on those solutions. It cannot be, the project has to be relevant. Just some idea will not work. So you have to have a background of why this technology you think is relevant for this particular area and how this can work, and clear goals and objectives. We will also look at the scale on how scalable this technology is. So if you can see, okay, it works only in one particular village, that may not be the best use for the grant. So we have to figure out what are the more scalable solutions which have been implemented and scaled up, what kind of methodology you're using, and how creative the solution is. And of course, the potential impacts, like it should actually have either impact on the community which is living around or on the species. So you have to be able to figure out, okay, the impact numbers are as clear as they can be. Some eligibility criteria again. So you have to be a registered non-profit based in India. You must have 12 NET registrations. It cannot be just an academic research project. It has to be used and implemented. So making sure that just one person working on some technology may not qualify for this. It has to be it has to have the ecosystem behind it to support the technology evolution, the science behind it, and the team which is there to support and implement this project. So these are some of the jury members who will be evaluating the program, and some of them will also be mentors. So Tofo White is founder of Rainforest Connection. He's been working on different devices. He's worked in Indonesia on for catching poachers using mobile technology. So a lot of great stuff. And Eric also has been working in India as well, in Kana Tiger Reserve, again using AI-based camera traps and stuff like that. Jonas is CEO of Swiss Knights, and he's also comes from a strong technology background. And Dr. Kritika Rant, who is the CEO of Center for Wildlife, will also be involved, considering she has technology as well as strong science background that she's been working with. We have 2 more jurors, but we are waiting for their confirmations as well. Once they are, I think their names will also pop up here. Both of them are traveling, so we haven't heard back from them yet, but I'm hoping they will also be, and one of them will be an Indian person. So we'll have people from all across the areas. So these are some of the areas that we think technology solutions can come for human wildlife interactions and combating wildlife trade and illegal hunting, land use change and mapping, and conservation of species. But these are not just the areas. You can come up with your own use case as well. But again, it has to be relevant. It has to be solving a larger problem. And we are more than happy to take those applications as well. So ideally, the technology solution should be at a prototype stage, not just an idea stage. So we see, because with this grant should be used for more deployment or testing, and not just for developing the idea from the scratch. So if you are coming up with a solution, we are hoping that you have already done some sort of a testing, and there is already a prototype available for you to either it is a software solution or a hardware solution, but some prototype has to be there to be able to deploy it and test it. And you should also have internal team capacities to develop this further, and not just one person who is ideating and things like that. So we will look at that aspect of team as well. So that is one reason why will not some of the just research project, academic research project, and individual projects will not be could not qualify for this. So again, solution should be scalable, and if there is a possibility of making that solution open source and available to larger community, that will also be given little more preference. And this is how the timeline looks like. Application process has already started. It ends on June 20th, which is almost like 9 days from now. There might be a possibility of extending this because I think we have some time between when the jury evaluations start. But please consider this as your deadline and do not rely on the extension. So please apply as soon as you can. And we'll have jury evaluations between July 1st and July 21st. We'll make the announcements by July 25th, immediately after the evaluations are done without further delays. And we'll use first week of August to sign MOUs, do the initial meetings, And before the second week of August, we will release the first tranche of the grant. And the project will end by July 2025, but the support will still be there for another 6 to 8 months to help you make the project to its fruitful conclusion. But making sure that the grant timeline, so you'll have to use the grant between this timeline, which is 1 year. So yeah, that's it from me. And if you have any questions, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to answer. And